Hello, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I'm Lady TrenettWilson, your lecturer and social historian. And today I'm going to talk about a woman. And most young people, if you hear the name Foxy Brown, they mostly think of the young lady Foxy Brown who used to rap back in I think the early 2000s. However, if you are a person of a certain age, the name Foxy Brown that comes to mind is very different. It is a woman who was known as one of the most beautiful black women and really women of all times. Her name was Pam Grier. Now she was every man's dream and every woman's goal because that body was on point. And in the 70s, she became known as the queen of black exploitation films. But her career has spanned over 50 years. And even though she began at black exploitation, her career actually, she is in movies. She still acts today. So I wanted to do a lecture on her because I was saying a lot of times we talk about people who have already gone on. And I think it's important to also honor people who are still here on earth. So we want to give Pam Grier, Foxy Brown, her flowers. Now, please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Do you know Foxy Brown? Have you ever seen any of her movies? I think we'll mention some of them here during our lecture today. Now, Foxy was actually a military kid, but she was born in North Carolina on May 26, 1949. But she moved quite a bit around the United States because her dad was in the service. She had a sister and a brother, and allegedly, she says her nationality included many races: Hispanic, Chinese, Filipino, and Cheyenne. So she was a mixed race person, evidently, according to her. Greer lived in Europe, and even for a while, she lived on her grandparents' farm in Wyoming. So she moved around quite a bit. But in 1958, they kind of settled here in the United States, and she attended East High School in Denver. Now, while Pam was in school, she was in all kinds of productions and she entered beauty contests so she could afford to go to college. And so she paid her way through Metropolitan State College in Denver. Now, in 1967, Greer relocated to Los Angeles, where she is reportedly had was working at a switchboard at this place called American International Pictures, or AIP. And it is believed that is where she was actually discovered by a man named Jack Hill. Now, Jack Hill was a director, and he made movies like Women in Cages, The Big Dollhouse, and the Big Bird Cage. So those sound like exploitation films, if you ask me. But he signed Pam, and under his direction and under their management, Pam became the queen of black exploitation films in the 1970s. Now, these black exploitation films, my mother used to watch them. And I think all black people did, but it did get, some negativity as well because most of the movies that were black exploitation films were negative. I mean, they had pimps and women of the night and substances. So, there was a lot of black backlash from those movies. But she was known for playing in the first movie, Cuffy, in 1973. And again, which at the time was whoa. But it was a hit. And so Greer was considered the first black woman to star in an action film. So that, that she was a woman of first. The role she most is known, however, for was way back in the day when she played in a movie called Foxy Brown. And this was in 1974. Now, by the 80s, she had moved into much even larger characters on movies like Fort Apache and in the Bronx in 1981. And in 1988, Greer returned back to films after some theater work, and she was in a movie called Above the Law. She was also on Miami Vice. Now, we're going back old school to even mention Miami Vice. Resume is extensive, and I can't even name all of the movies that she is in. When I went back and looked, it was just so many of them. But I do want to name some of the more notable ones, and maybe that some that you may recognize. So she was also in Jackie Brown in 1997. That was Quentin Tarantino's film. I think everybody remembers Jackie Brown. She was also in Law and Order SVU. So she's played in such a variety of different movies and films. In 2010, she was on a show called Smallville. And I don't know if you remember, but Smallville had some women that got in trouble for this cult called Nexium. So she was on that show with those people. So, I mean, I bet she was like, whoa. Now, in that same year, 2010, she wrote a book. And her book is called My Life in Three Acts. And she wrote it with a lady named Andrea Kagan. And in 2011, Grier founded the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum. And she's into a lot of like culture stuff and nature things. So she is just living again her best, her best life. She's had such a long career. Now, I do want to talk about one thing though, because a lot of people wonder: Has Pam Grier ever been married? I mean, she was so beautiful. Does she have any children? And the answer to both of those is no. Despite her immense beauty, Pam has never been married. She's been linked to a lot of very, very famous men like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that she dated back in 1969, the comedian Freddie Prinze in 1973. You know, it said that when he took his life, she was one of the last people that he spoke to before he did that. So she knew him. Then the famous Richard Pryor, and of course, they starred in a movie called Grease Lightning in 1977. So they reportedly, allegedly started seeing each other and they were hooking up. And Pam disclosed in her book that she discovered because of her sexual relations with him, she had some substances, some white substances in her body as a result in her blood system. And so she wanted to protect herself from him. And, she brought it to his attention. But he didn't care. It said that he went ahead and married this lady named Deborah McGuire the same year after she put the gauntlet down and told him that he couldn't just do anything to her and put her health at risk. I think, all of these men that I just mentioned, and there were other very famous men that she also dated, but she never did marry. And I believe it's because she dated these men in the industry. So I don't know if these were the best people for her. But it didn't really make any difference in her own life, in her own career, because she's still here today, living a happy and a fulfilled life. Foxy Brown or Pam Grier was one of those first black women who came on the screen with a big old afro and a beautiful face, and she showed black women in a different light. And so I am just so proud to present Foxy Brown to you. She is also an overcomer. In 1988, she was diagnosed with cervical cancer, but she overcame it and she has been in remission ever since. Foxy lives on a ranch in New Mexico where she grows her fruit and does all the things that she loves to do. So I think I have really learned a lot myself about Foxy, and I'm just honored once again to give her roses while she is still here with us. Now, my sources were Pam Grier interview with Ben Sloan. I also read a part of Pam Grier, My Life in Three Acts, and Amber J's Essence interview with her as well. So I want to thank everybody for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. And if you want to continue learning about our wonderful Black history, y'all click, yeah, right there, to continue to learn. Thanks for sharing your day with me.